I'm Nudrat Hopper, and I'm talking to Mike Moynagh, who is the author of GodSend, a book that's a support resource for people who are starting new Christian communities. And today we're discussing the next chapter, which is chapter 3. What would be my first step? So, Mike, in this chapter, you've talked a lot about community. That's the one word that sort of sticks with me.
Yeah, Nudrat, the first step, in a way, it's really simple. Go and find a friend. Start a new Christian community with one or two friends. Don't do it on your own. When God looked at the first man and woman in the Garden of Eden, he said it's not good for the man to be alone. And he put a woman alongside him because community was really important for God. Human beings are to live in community. And community, it can be small, 2 or 3 people. It can be larger, 10 people. It can be hundreds of people. But we're made by God to live in community. So go and find a friend. And I get really excited about this because, you see, I think to follow Jesus in your everyday life from Monday to Saturday can sometimes be quite a lonely experience. There I am at work on my own, or here I am in my volunteering activity on my own as a Christian. There are other people around me. Yeah, there's that sort of Christian, that sort of community exists. But a Christian community, me along with other Christians, it's often not like that. I'm on my own. And so this idea of finding a friend means that you can practice your following Jesus, not on your own during the week, but with someone else. And that transforms everything because you've got a friend alongside you you can laugh with, they can hold you to account, you can learn from each other. And the whole process of walking with Jesus feels different when you're doing it with other people. So I get really excited about this very first step, find a friend or two.
I found this quote in your chapter, which really warms my heart and I guess refocuses what a new Christian community should be trying to do, where their focus must lie. And you've said, friends become communities when their relationships matter at least as much as the task. And I got to thinking about these new communities, which actually, when they first start, the thing that's bringing them together is an interest. They may not all be Christians.
Well, that is true. And the team comes together, the 2 or 3 of you who are hoping to start a new Christian community. You come together with that task in mind. That's why we're getting together. But the first thing to do is not to go headlong into the task. The first thing to do is to build your friendship together and your relationships together. So in the GodSend book, I used the phrase, I borrowed it from someone else actually, food, fun, and focus. When you get together, the 2 or 3 of you as friends, you may know each other well, you may not. Start eating together, getting to know each other, build your relationship, have some fun together around the food. Maybe have a video evening, or maybe go bowling together, or do some fun activity together. And then in the context of this food and fun, begin to talk about your focus. What are we actually going to do? What's God calling us to do in terms of this new Christian community? But do all that in the context of a deepening relationship. Of course, if you're already friends, then you're halfway there. But if you're starting out with people you don't know very well, this building of the relationship, this food and fun as the context for your focus couldn't be more important. You will die. I tell you, if you're starting a new Christian community, you will die if you don't enjoy being with the people you're working with in your team. So get to know each other so that you can enjoy each other's company and make the whole thing full of enjoyment. So food, fun, focus.
That's brilliant. It's actually reminded me of some friends of ours who we've had for years, known for years and years, but it's been a bit of a more like acquaintances. And recently, over lockdown particularly, we've become closer friends. And it struck me the other day when I ended up talking about God with them, that I'd known them for over 20 years and actually had avoided talking about God. Somehow I felt, oh, I guess I better not do this. This is too tricky a subject, maybe. And yet, at this particular time, 20 years into the friendship, it sort of flowed where there was a real presence of the Holy Spirit, almost opening the door for that conversation. It hasn't gone very far, but it's been introduced.
And Nudrat, you couldn't be more right in this, because if we're coming together with some colleagues and people we know, in order, we hope and pray, to start a new Christian community, then at some point we're going to have God conversations with people who we're working with in the wider community. And if you can't do that in your team, well, then you'll never do it with other people. So, you have to, I always say, conversations that you have, the depth of them, have to be in the context of a relationship that can bear the weight of those conversations. So you need to get to know people, have confidence in them, they trust you, you trust them, and then you can begin to share your perspectives of God and so on. And when you're having spiritual conversations in the team, and we're going to talk more about that, by the way, in the next in our next conversation together, when you have those spiritual conversations, then of course it becomes easier to start having those conversations with other people who you gather around your activity of love. So yeah, absolutely, you need to develop these relationships. Really, really important.
It can get quite busy. Things that you're planning, the activities, you're gathering people round, and I can't help but think that life is busy. Isn't it very time consuming? How do we go about this?
Yeah, we'll talk about this again in the next conversation. And as a sort of spoiler alert, we're going to talk about how, when you meet in your team, shock, 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 you needn't go to church that week on Sunday. It's okay to meet in your team once or twice a month, and to be church in your team and not go to church on Sunday that week. We'll talk about that more in our next conversation. What I want to say is, if you go onto the website, you'll find this fantastic little video. It's someone who lives fairly near us, a team. They're leading, I think it's an outreach activity with children and families. And what they've done is to put onto video their team meeting. And their team meeting is done on WhatsApp. They have on WhatsApp a little spreadsheet where they record all the things they've agreed to do, the different tasks, and who's going to do what. And they talk about this on WhatsApp. And I tell you, their team meeting lasted 4 minutes, 20 seconds. So go onto the website, look at that video. And what I'm trying to say is, look, you can do a lot of your routine planning by WhatsApp. You can send messages to each other. You can talk to each other. You can do, once you got into the rhythm of things, you can do your planning within 5 minutes. It's really very quick once you're in the rhythm, or can be really quick. So think of easy ways and quick ways of cutting down the length of meetings you have to have together to do the planning. Do the routine planning on WhatsApp, for example, or in other ways, to keep it all short. Because, yeah, many of us are really, really busy. And, if we're doing this in our spare time, we don't have a lot of spare time. So find time-efficient ways of doing your planning.
Which means that we have more time for that activity of love that we're meeting for.
Absolutely, Nudrat. And one thing I want to say too is that when you draw together your team, 2 or 3 people, and it can be very informal. The word team makes it sound much more formal than it need be. But sometimes people say to me, do they always have to be Christians? Always churchgoers? And I want to say, no, they don't. You can draw together someone who might be really up for your activity of love that you're planning,
Mm.
but may not really be into the Christian faith.
Mm.
And as long as they're happy for you to be, they may say, look, you know, I'm very happy for you to do all the spirituality bit, but I'm not really into it. But yeah, I'll go along with it. And as long as they're giving you permission to do the spirituality stuff, even if they're not into it themselves, you can be team with them because they'll be helping you with all the activity of love and so on.
That's great. That's absolutely great. So community is that focus, building in space for people and their interests, making sure that planning is kept to a minimum so it doesn't take up that precious time of meeting together and being together with friends and sharing. If you want a copy of this book, you can order it on Amazon. And for now, thank you, Mike. It's been lovely to catch up with you again.
Nice chatting, Nudrat.